Have you ever wondered why some people seem to fail their way to the top while others get stuck in an endless cycle of mediocrity? Today, we're diving deep into the bizarre science behind failing upwards and why understanding this phenomenon might completely change how you approach your biggest disasters. Picture this scenario. A software engineer accidentally deletes an entire company database during their first week on the job. Most people would expect this person to get fired immediately, right? But instead, this catastrophic mistake leads to discovering a massive security vulnerability that saves the company millions. 6 months later, they're promoted to head of cybersecurity. This isn't just luck, it's failing upwards in action. The concept of failing upwards challenges everything we've been taught about success and failure. We're conditioned to believe that success follows a linear path, where good performance leads to rewards and mistakes lead to punishment. But the reality is far more complex and, frankly, more interesting than anyone wants to admit. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth about traditional success metrics. Most organizations and individuals focus obsessively on avoiding failure rather than maximizing learning. This creates what researchers call a prevention mindset, where people become so focused on not screwing up that they never take the risks necessary for breakthrough achievements. Think about the last time you played it safe to avoid failure. Maybe you didn't pitch that crazy idea at work, or you stuck with a comfortable routine instead of trying something new. That prevention mindset might have kept you from failing, but it also kept you from discovering what you're truly capable of. The science behind failing upwards starts with understanding how our brains process setbacks. When we experience failure, our brains undergo what neuroscientists call neuroplastic adaptation. Essentially, failure creates new neural pathways that didn't exist before. These pathways often lead to innovative solutions and creative thinking that success alone cannot generate. Here's where it gets really interesting. Studies show that people who experience early career failures often develop stronger problem-solving skills than those who experience early success. The reason is simple. Failure forces you to think differently. Success can make you overconfident and rigid in your approach, while failure keeps you adaptable and hungry. But not all failures lead to upward movement. There's a specific type of failure that creates opportunities for advancement, and understanding the difference could be the key to transforming your setbacks into stepping stones. Strategic failure involves taking calculated risks that have high learning potential, even when they don't succeed. These failures provide valuable data, reveal hidden opportunities, and demonstrate qualities like resilience and innovation that leaders value. Random failure, on the other hand, is just bad luck or poor judgment without strategic purpose. The most successful people don't just fail upwards accidentally. They engineer their failures to maximize learning and opportunity. They choose challenges where failure teaches them something valuable, and they frame their setbacks in ways that highlight growth, rather than incompetence. Consider the story of someone who launches a startup that completely flops. Instead of hiding this failure, they analyze exactly what went wrong, document their learnings, and use that experience to advise other entrepreneurs. Suddenly, their failure becomes their expertise, and companies start hiring them as consultants. That's engineered failing upwards. The psychology of failing upwards also involves something called post-traumatic growth. This concept suggests that experiencing difficulties can lead to positive psychological changes, including increased resilience, stronger relationships, greater appreciation for life, and a deeper sense of personal strength. But here's the catch. Post-traumatic growth doesn't happen automatically. It requires a specific mindset shift that most people never make. You have to view failure as information rather than judgment. When you fail, you're not discovering that you're inadequate. You're discovering that your current approach needs adjustment. The most fascinating aspect of failing upwards is how it creates what researchers call antifragility. While resilience helps you bounce back from setbacks, antifragility means you actually get stronger from stress and failure. Systems and people that are anti-fragile don't just recover from chaos, they improve because of it. This explains why some individuals seem to thrive in high-pressure, high-failure environments, while others crumble. The thrivers have learned to extract value from every setback, turning each failure into fuel for their next attempt. They've weaponized their mistakes. Now, let's talk about the social dynamics of failing upwards, because this is where things get controversial. In many organizations, being associated with high-profile failures can actually increase your visibility and influence, provided you handle the aftermath correctly. When someone fails spectacularly on a major project, they often gain more attention than people who succeed quietly. If they can demonstrate that they learned from the experience and can articulate those lessons clearly, they become valuable in ways that successful people cannot match. They have battle scars that prove they're willing to take risks, and they know what doesn't work. This creates an interesting paradox. Sometimes the fastest way to advance is to volunteer for projects with high failure rates. While others avoid these challenges to protect their records, those who embrace them gain experience, visibility, and credibility that can't be obtained any other way. But let's be clear about something important. Failing upwards doesn't mean being reckless or incompetent. It means being strategically bold and maintaining a learning orientation even when things go wrong. There's a crucial difference between failing because you took a smart risk and failing because you were unprepared or careless. The organizations that understand failing upwards create what's called a learning culture. In these environments, intelligent failures are celebrated as investments in knowledge. Employees feel safe to experiment and push boundaries because they know that setbacks will be treated as data rather than disasters. Google's famous 20% time policy exemplifies this approach. By allowing employees to spend 1/5 of their time on experimental projects, Google acknowledges that most of these efforts will fail. But the few that succeed, like Gmail and Google News, create enormous value that far exceeds the cost of the failures. For individuals, developing a failing upwards mindset requires rewiring how you interpret setbacks. Instead of asking why this happened to you, ask what this can teach you. Instead of focusing on what you lost, focus on what you gained in terms of experience, connections, or insights. The timing element of failing upwards is also critical. Early failures often have more positive long-term impact than later failures because they shape your development during crucial learning phases. Someone who fails frequently in their 20s but learns from each experience may be far more successful in their 30s than someone who played it safe early on. There's also something called the failure resume that some forward-thinking professionals are starting to create. This document lists your biggest failures alongside what you learned from each one. The idea is to normalize failure as part of the learning process and demonstrate your ability to extract value from setbacks. The neuroscience behind this is compelling. When we experience failure, our brains release stress hormones that actually enhance memory formation. This means we often remember lessons from failure more vividly than lessons from success. That's why your worst mistakes probably taught you more than your easiest victories. Here's a practical framework for failing upwards that you can implement immediately. First, redefine failure as feedback. When something doesn't work, resist the urge to see it as a reflection of your worth. Instead, treat it as information about what adjustments need to be made. Second, document your failures systematically. Keep a record of what went wrong, why it went wrong, and what you learned. This transforms random setbacks into structured learning experiences. Over time, you'll start to see patterns that help you make better decisions. Third, share your failures strategically. Being transparent about your setbacks, when done thoughtfully, builds trust and demonstrates growth mindset. People respect those who can own their mistakes and articulate their learnings. Fourth, Seek feedback actively after failures. The people around you often see things you missed. Their perspectives can help you extract maximum value from each setback. The science of failing upwards ultimately comes down to this. Success is not about avoiding failure, but about optimizing your response to it. Those who master this skill don't just recover from setbacks, they use them as launching pads for their next level of achievement. Your failures are not evidence of your limitations. They're proof that you're pushing boundaries and taking risks that matter. In a world where most people are paralyzed by the fear of failing, those who can fail upwards have a massive competitive advantage. The question isn't whether you'll fail. You will. The question is whether you'll let those failures define your limits or use them to discover your potential. Start treating your next setback as your next opportunity and watch how quickly your relationship with failure transforms from fear into fuel. So if this video changed the way you think about failure, success, or your own setbacks, make sure to like it and subscribe my channel for more of this content. Bye-bye.